I think fighting games need to do something. Just the FGC in general has to do something. I think it could really start by What's up, everybody? This is what I wanted to talk about the other day. And it's the fact that I think that the FGC is on life support. I don't think fighting games are on life support. I think fighting games are going to be fine. You have games like Dragon Ball Fighters that will be absolutely fine if they come out with a sequel. Street Fighter is always going to be fine, I think. Mortal Kombat 11 did blockbuster numbers for NetherRealm, and if they come out with a Mortal Kombat 12, if and when they come out with a Mortal Kombat 12, I think that's going to do phenomenal numbers as well. Fighting games are fine, but the FGC, they're the ones in trouble. I was reading this article a couple weeks ago, Fighting Game Community's Passion Isn't Paying the Bills. And this comes to no surprise to anybody that there's really no money in the fighting game scene. Even when it comes to video games as a whole, it feels like a lot of other types of video games get a lot more money within their area. Fighting games, not so much. But there is one thing that did surprise me in this article. So if we can just go through this real quick. So here's what kind of surprised me. Tournaments are not raking it in either, as in the tournament organizers. It's not as if money for the tournament prize pools is being withheld or earmarked elsewhere. It just isn't there in the same way it is for other major esports. There's a very shallow pool that can provide for only the most elite fish in the most competitive games, and that isn't a reality that tournament organizers can change easily. Very rarely do we hit more than breaking even. When I read that kind of surprised me, because you would think that, and this is East Coast Throwdown, one of the tournament organizers there is talking about this, and I always thought that at least the big name tournaments would have, they'd be making at least some money. There would be some profit there to be able to continue doing this, but it looks like they're doing it simply on the love of fighting games and nothing else. They're just doing it because they love fighting games, which is a really scary thing, because if you're thinking years down the line, 5, 10, 15 years down the line, when these guys aren't around anymore, when either they have to look towards making more profits and they don't have the time to do this, or, God forbid they pass, something like that happens, what happens to the FGC? What happens to these big name events? And some of you may be thinking, well, Sony bought Evo, so Evo's going to be fine. Yeah, well, Sony is I believe they have shareholders, and if they do, then they have a fiduciary. I cannot say that word. Sony would have a fiduciary responsibility to make money. They have to make money and increase the profit shares for that company. So if they're very rarely making more than breaking even, how much longer do they justify doing Evo until they just give up on that fighting game tournament? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that, but I don't think it looks good. So basically, I think fighting games need to do something. Just the FGC in general has to do something. I think it could really start by getting some guys that can talk, to be quite honest. Have you ever heard an interview in the FGC? I just feel like it's not. They need to go the Vince McMahon route. They need to go the Vincent Kennedy McMahon route. And by that, I don't mean fix the matches. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is they need guys who can win and who can talk, and then give them a platform to talk. So I think if you're more entertained, okay. So here's my business plan, I guess, for the FGC. You got to get some guys who can talk. To be fair, there are some people in the FGC that can talk. Who comes to mind? I think Yipes is really good at talking people into a ticket or into a match, rather. I think Rob TV is very good.
So that tournament experience right there, I'm telling you, is gonna come back to haunt you right now. And even if you are completely comfortable, I'm just better than you.
He doesn't really do a lot of competitive stuff, but Maximilian can do some talking. If you don't believe me, watch some of his, what's it called? Boss Rage videos. And he goes like right before the boss or right after the boss beats him a bunch of times. He's like, oh, we have to do this for the world and I will not submit. Like,
this is it! All that exists. This is what we've trained for! I'm not afraid of you!
He just cuts a promo on the boss, which is pretty good. So I think Maximilian could do some talking, even though I don't think he's going to compete in anything. But I think they could still use someone like a Maximilian in these events. So you get some guys that can talk. So, okay, look at this for an example. When you think about FGC feuds, right? Personally, I think of Daigo and Justin Wong. I think when you think about fighting games and big fighting game moments, of course, you're going to think about that. But that's something that is a moment. That's a moment that you can't really duplicate. So that doesn't really help. But one thing that I think can be duplicated is the feud between LTG and Viscount. So Low Tier God, and I'm sure everyone knows about the Low Tier God Viscount match. Extremely entertaining. And you got to give credit to the guy at Wednesday Night Fights because he gave them a platform to talk about, okay, why don't you like this guy? Why don't you like this guy? What do you have to say?
Tell us a little bit about what the hell is going on here, man?
And let them talk to really hype up the match, and then gave that match. And to this day, people are still making videos about LTG versus Viscount and still watching that matchup. So I think we need more of that in fighting games. But imagine this. Imagine if you had, so instead of them doing it the way they did that Wednesday Night Fights, imagine if they had Low Tier God and Viscount in like a press release kind of thing. Kind of like boxing or mixed martial arts or something like that. So you have both of them. You could even do it on Zoom at their house. Like he's at his house, he's at his house. And then you have Low Tier God talk about why he's going to win and why he doesn't like Viscount and this jabroni, this Rudy Poo, he's been talking trash and I'm going to do blah, 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 blah. Whatever the case may be. You have them talk some trash. Damn it. You have them talk some trash. And then, you can even do this. You could stream the press release, and then you can have people who do an X amount of money for a super chat can ask them a question, and then the moderator will say, okay, the viewer is asking this question. What do you how you answer, yada, yada, yada. So you can get some money doing that. But the thing is, you do that press release like a week before the match. And then you set the match to be to be able to be reserved. So on YouTube when you're streaming, or when you have a stream coming up, or if you have a video coming up, you can put it so that it's a reminder like, hey, this event is going to happen in a week or in 3 days, whatever the case may be. And then you can RSVP to watch that event. So you do the press release first, and then you have the actual event a week later or X amount of days later, and then you do it to be a RSVP. And then what that event can now do is say, hey, we have like, let's say there's 10,000 people that are RSVP'd to watch this match. Then you go to the advertisers and you can say, okay, we got 10,000 people willing to watch this. Even if 10,000 people RSVP, they're not all going to show up. So let's say 20% don't, or they don't watch the whole way. We got 8,000 people that are going to be watching this. We have space for 2 commercial breaks or 2 advertisements. This is our price. Are you willing to do business? And obviously with the more people RSVPing is the higher of a price you can charge for something like that. And you can even go to specifically fighting game type things like companies that do controllers or companies that do gaming chairs, stuff like that. Or you can go to some of the mainstream advertisers like Sprite and McDonald's and Pepsi, stuff like that. And then you have your breaks in between, and you're obviously the event will earn some money off of the stream itself, but the advertising money is where they'll probably earn the largest percentage of money. And if you can really get a lot of people and really demand a high enough price, because that's all the Super Bowl is. The Super Bowl, to get on a Super Bowl commercial, it's extremely expensive because they can almost guarantee that they're going to have X amount of viewers watching that event. So if you can say, hey, look, we had this press release, it hyped up the event a little bit, and then people RSVP'd, and we got this amount of people coming to watch our event, and we want to sell you some advertising time. This is the price. And then they can finally maybe start putting some of that money towards the players and getting some of these tournament organizers paid. Some of these guys who are working just on volunteer alone, put some money in their pocket. And then hopefully the actual company that runs the event can earn some money, some profit. You know, what a novel idea that the company holding an event can make profit.
Geevs on that beat.